and I should whenever that ends, unless I put it on. I might have put it on loop. Nope. Oh, there he is. What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's having a great weekend. Hopefully, you are enjoying some of the football games that have been going on. I personally enjoyed a lot of the college games yesterday. It was a lot of fun. So, great day to be hanging out in the markets. We got a lot of things to look forward to. The pre-market for what's going on this week. I have some information about what particular earnings we could expect this week. I lost my watch somewhere. Hopefully it's downstairs. Oh, no, there it is. I got a new monitor, so it looks like I'm looking up. It's because I am. This thing's massive. I also have a new desk coming in Wednesday, so it'll be a corner desk, so I might be a little bit moved to the side, and you'd probably see more of the room coming up. This is a small bedroom anyway. It's a guest room. Actually, this isn't a guest room. Guest room's in the room behind me. But this is just a small little room for potentially bedroom for anybody in the future. I've also thought about putting a couch, not a casting couch, but a regular couch in here for naps on sometimes the Fridays that I do work from home. It would be nice to catch a little bit of a snoozle, or even on Saturdays, I've also thought about hanging a TV in here. Anyway, things are still moving. I've only been here about a year. Actually, it'll be a year. Closed on the house a year on next Sunday. October 20th, 2024 will be a year that I've owned the house. So pretty cool. So anyway, always a work in motion. Let's go down the chat, or actually the ticker. Apple 227, Amazon 188.33, Dutch Bros 32, Google 163, Palantir 43.35, SPY pulling back a little bit from all-time highs at 5,800, 492 on the Qs, 62,600 for Bitcoin. Oil 74.50, pulling back a little bit. It's down 1.5% since it opened up. And natural gas, Henry Hub specifically, $2.59. I'm actually kind of curious what's Dutch TTF trading at. Let's take a quick look. Dutch is trading at $13, and it's about $13 for Korean and Japan LNG as well. So when everyone always hears us talk about next, LNG, it's because in the U.S. it's trading at $2.50, and over in Dutchland and Japan, it's trading for $13. So of course, it makes sense, right? Easy for us to export it. The United States is the number one exporter of natural gas in the world, followed by Qatar and then Australia, I believe. So Prince money. Anyway, let's hop into the comments. So thank you for the 47 of you that have already come in to hang out on the stream. Let's make sure that I get some good micage over here. Let me know if you can hear it well or not. Let's go to the tippy top. We got Mike. We got Brent, we got Ray, we got Midwest, we got Sense. We got Ray again. We got June for once. This time there's no Amit stream to get caught up at. Zocold, what's going on? AK Willie. I'll stop with the poor Amit cheating on me jokes, June. I apologize. It's going to get old very quickly if it hasn't already. Mark Kiwi, what's going on? Island by 2030. Hell yes. Amit was just saying there's no AM show tomorrow because he hates us. You forgot to put that in the parentheses. Glad Matt is here. No, Amit does a good job. I'm glad he's able to get away because the dude's literally just been hustling, providing us with the information. He does a phenomenal job. And so nobody can doubt that. Anybody that doubts Amit, dude. So anyway, let me do and ask a favor of you guys. If you could, if you have a Twitch account, please follow me on Twitch. You don't have to watch on Twitch, although I might ask you that later, but I need to get to 50 followers. So it would be very helpful if you guys do that. Amit is going to some resort with his new wife. Yeah, shout out to Amit getting married. Those arranged marriages in India are a real thing. AK Willie, what's going on? Seen one play in the Bengals game, but also need them to cover. More focus on the Dodgers. Shout out to those Dodgers, man. The Phillies. No bueno for your boy. I had a couple $100. We won something on like the Masters, or I don't know, one of the majors. We bet on golf, and I said, you know what? Let's gamble. The Phillies are playing hot. They're doing well. Let's roll that into, and this was like early in the season. I was like, let's roll that into a World Series win. And so at one point, we were looking at like $600 cash out, and we should have taken it, but unfortunately, we did not. Big Billy, what's going on? Krishna, what is going on? Starship was freaking awesome this morning. I didn't watch it live, man. He was a sleepy boy, and it was at like 7 a.m. Central, and Maddie's a sleepy, sleepy boy. But I did catch the replay, and it was awesome. Midwest is the man. Slept 3 hours, woke up to see the Starship launch. Really thought it was going to blow up trying to land. Joke's on you, my guy. Joke's on you. Appreciate the comments. It's not a really, I didn't put a lot of effort into the intro. Like, I just found bits of royalty-free sort of stuff. But I think it'll help at least get the conversation started to let people know that, hey, man, we're starting. We're getting over here. And it helps especially, and I might do a different one for Cashflow Chronicles, but at least gives me a minute to prompt Chris Patel, because normally he's fashionably a few minutes late. Sorry, Chris. I always like to just call you out. It's just the way it is. Aaron C., what's going on? Junebug likes the intro. Katie, go Lions. Dude, the Lions, man. Holy crap. I watched that. I was like, are these guys playing a college team? They played the Cowboys, and I was like, what the heck is absolutely going on right now? Glad the intro's over. Well, that's why you're here, right? The Tigers lost. So what else do we got here? We got BD Francisco. Yeah, year. I'm old as hell. We got Yesayer. What's going on? Yeah, Henry Hub is a bargain. I know. Yeah, man. Can't believe Scabble Slammy happened. Onto the Cy Young. Yeah, that I was just like, I was watching that, and I was just like, I didn't even know what to say. Tesla's up. Okay. Multiply gas price for 6 for oil price energy equivalent. Yes. But why did Next run so much? I know, man. Luckily, I didn't get perfect bottom prices, but what did I end up getting at? I have about 4,000 shares I'm positive now, but I had gotten about 1,000 shares, I think, put to me. Let me just make sure I'm not sharing. Okay, good. I had about 1,000 shares put to me at a 8 something cost basis, and it was it was like really far out in time. And this was before the announcement. So this is before the DC circuit announcement. So I got put those shares, and I was like, you know what? It's like, I'm not going to sell it. I'm not that upset. I was like, it's 1,000 shares. It was like $8,000 or something. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, 1,000 shares for a cost basis of $721. So I had sold, I forget what it was, but it was something. It was the $8 puts for out in time sometime, and I got 80 cents. And I was like, all right, I was like a 10% discount. You know, I think it was trading at 8.25 or something. And so when it dropped, I was like, not a big deal. And then I started acquiring. So I got another 3,000 ish or so. Yeah, 3,000 shares exactly at like $4.60. So my cost basis is $5.27. So when this thing goes up 4 or 5x, I'm not going to be that upset, and it's going to be paying a pretty decent dividend. So Next is up there, man. It's up there, and believe it or not, like I used to think I had a lot more $20,000 positions. A lot of them got canned, man. A lot of them have been trimmed. There's really not a lot of positions in here anymore. It's mostly just like me selling calls and some puts and stuff. It's mostly individual positions. Like I was looking the other day, the top 5 in the individual brokerage account by value. SPY is obviously number 1. It's a pretty big position. Palantir is number 2 again. Is that real? Oh, that's because I have Rocket Lab split. That's right. I have some Rocket Lab in my brokerage account. I was like, really? I was like, I thought Palantir was back above, or Rocket Lab was back above 200K for me. So Rocket Lab in this account, I have about 100 some thousand. The other account, I have about probably 80 or 90. So this is probably Rocket Lab, probably number one. Palantir, it's like 195-ish thousand. Amazon's about 70. Google's about 60. And then you have SoFi, which has weaseled its way. If you were counting Bitcoin, Bitcoin would be up there probably in between Google and Amazon. It's like Google will be number 5, but if you're counting just stocks, SoFi sneaks in there, man. SoFi sneaks in there. That's the way the cookie crumbles. All right. So we did. Let me see if anybody else. Thomas, what's going on, my guy? Much appreciated. Black Sky coverage, man. I don't know. I thought I knew a lot more about Black Sky, and then my boy Curtis gave me some more, I guess, reason to be speculative on it, or not speculative, hesitant on it. And to be very honest, I've come to terms with I like Rocket Lab. I've done a lot of due diligence on Rocket Lab. It doesn't make sense for me to really dilute the message on my investment in Rocket Lab. So why sell Rocket Lab? Or not sell Rocket Lab, but why lose attention on Rocket Lab for another company that may or may not pan out, right? I mean, yes, Black Sky's starting to be profitable, but, are they growing as fast as they should be? Are they doing everything they could? I don't know. MSTR is a monster. I agree with that, especially if Bitcoin continues to do well. It's 25% of this gentleman's portfolio. Intros are great because us poor people get commercials at the beginning. It helps us for us low-level people not to miss out. There you go. Heard it here first. Keep the intro short. Robotaxi brainwashed me. 100%. That whole intro, 100% brainwashed me. 150%. What's up, Ricardo Flores, the myth, the legend? Thank you. Let's talk about next. If you guys got questions, I'll do my best. And if anybody hasn't already, I've wrote a pretty good article about NEXT, and I think they'll let me give a free. Where's my profile? They generally let me give free. Free gifts out for people. So the recipient can watch with no paywall. So the first few people will be able to read this, no problem. So if you've already read it, please refrain from opening it again so that somebody else can get it, because Seeking Alpha does have a paywall. So hopefully we get some people that are enjoying. Now keep in mind, NEXT does have risk. It could go to zero, guys. Could potentially go to zero. It could end up not being going through, but I'm just very confident that you have Total, you have Mubadala, which is an Abu Dhabi company. You have Saudi Aramco involved now. You even have Shell with some of the offtake volumes. I just feel like there's so many big players at this point. I don't think Google's cooked, man. I think Google will find out a way. They always do. Palantir is your largest, and anybody else concerned about nationwide cell phone blackout and the market crash before the election? Ooh. Good question. Do you think Starship is a high-profile success will have a halo effect on the price of Rocket Lab and other space stocks? I don't know. I mean, I like to be honest. When I don't know something, this is something I don't know. What I do think will have a good effect is if they outline the details of their Mars contract and the Q3 earnings, and then also the continued testing and success stepping towards a Neutron launch. Because I think there's a lot of due diligence. There's a lot of FUD that is out there to try to persuade people. I think that's the right word. I'm not good at English, guys. I'm not. I think there's a lot of FUD out there to persuade people to think that Neutron is not really going to launch in 2025 at all. And I'm a firm believer against that. I think there will be. BD Kramer. The man, the myth, the legend that even told me that Vector Acquisition Group was going to reverse merge with Rocket Lab. You could owe it all to this guy. That's no lie. That's not sarcasm. I know I'm a sarcastic guy. That's not. Lisa, what's going on? Much appreciated. And then Julie, you're the boss, big boss. Thank you for coming. Glad everybody is here. Everybody loves Lisa. It's here. All right, everybody. What's this poll say before I continue? What is it? Keep. Okay, 74%. Yeah, it's especially going to be useful when Christopher the Perma Bear Patel. Just kidding. He told me to stop saying that, so I will. He didn't tell me to stop saying it. He just said it's getting old, and I agree. It's getting old. But Christopher Patel, sometimes he's working. He's dealing with the boss lady, the real person that drives both of our influences in Cashflow Chronicles. She's the real brain behind it. But sometimes he has to answer to her before he gets on stream, and I get it. Happy wife, happy life. So anyway, let's hop into, and for those of you, let me just do this as well, because we already had some questions about it. Next Decade wrote an article. Feel free to chit chat. 16 comments on it. Up to 336 followers on Seeking Alpha. That's pretty good, because I only wrote like 9 times. But really, let me just get you down to the nitty gritty. I won't let you read, but I do need to get a, what should we call it? I do need to get a link for it. So if anybody signs up, I get credit for it. Next Decade is a pure LNG play aiming towards export first gas by 2027. Is that an extra space? No. With Bechtel building trains 1 through 3 and an EPC contract for train 4. These are true statements. Despite the DC Circuit overturning the FERC site permit, FERC is basically a regulatory body. Next Decade remains on site, building phase 1, 17 MPTA, which is a lot, of the Rio Grande LNG project. To keep in mind, like, the whole nation of Qatar exports like 88 MTPA. So, this one project is big. And then the whole thing is going to be like 27 or something like that. So that's approximately like a quarter of Qatar. But Qatar is going to double that. So they're going to be like 160, 170 MPTA. Actually, it should be MTPA, not MPTA. But anyway, next stock is down 35% in the last week, offering a potential buying opportunity with future cash flows from trains 4 and 5, but significant risks do remain. And you can see I wrote it August 11th, so it's 2 months old at this point. Stock price was $5. It dipped down, and now we're back up. So we're up 13%. So go Maddie. Go Maddie. 1.4 billion market cap, 6% short interest. Maybe we'll read the first. Let me see. Yeah, I was going to say maybe I'll read the first piece, but I don't think that's important. So there's that. We can close that. I can close Twitch. Thank you for the guys that clicked on Twitch and subbed on Twitch. Much appreciated. So let me just throw that in this where I'm trying to get to 50 followers. So much appreciated for anybody that does do that, because I would love just another revenue stream. I'm not sharing that screen. What I do want to share, and there's another piece that I want to get into, and then I would love to just do a Q&A with you guys, hang out for a little bit, is futures. What's going on in futures? So where are we? We're in greed right now. 74% greed. It's driving the market. Looks like we're flat. Let me just refresh. Nothing wrong with a little refresh. Looks like we are flat, ladies and gentlemen. Dow down 10 points. We got S&P down 5. We got NASDAQ down 35. So down 0.2%. So it looks flat to me. It looks flat to me. What do you guys think about that? What are we thinking? Let me scroll up a little bit. Let's see. Do a mail-in ballot, Julie. 100%. Watching SpaceX get you hyped for Neutron's launch. 100%. Commander Shepard. This is your favorite video on YouTube. Why do I feel like you're lying, my guy? RNT1. What's good? Let's see. Blue Origin New Glenn launches next month. ULA had 2 back-to-back successful launches. How do you see this impacting? Is New Glenn launching next month? Is it? Let's see. The spacecraft were scheduled to launch on the first flight of New Glenn between October 13th and 21, stating September 24th. Let's read this together. Let's keep everybody informed. Keep everyone informed. I know this because it's launching Escapade, which is bullish, RKLB. Who made the Escapade satellites? Rocket Lab. Fun fact. So anyway, the agency made a decision now, more than a month before the launch window opens, before loading the spacecraft with hydrogen, nitrogen tetroxide propellants. NASA had concluded that it could not push back the spacecraft fueling and thus needed to decide now if New Glenn could be ready in time for the October launch window. The decision was made to avoid significant cost, schedule, and technical challenges associated with potentially removing fuel from the spacecraft in the event of a launch delay, which could be caused by a number of factors. An industry source familiar with the decision said that Blue Origin believed that New Glenn would be ready for launch in the 9-day mid-October window, although the company still has significant work to complete, testing and integrate the rocket. That schedule required that those final activities go largely as expected, while first launches of new rockets often encounter issues. NASA was seeking more of a margin in that schedule before committing to fueling the spacecraft, given the difficulties in removing the propellants if New Glenn missed the October window. This is an important mission for NASA, and it's critical we have sufficient margin in each of our pre-launch work to ensure we are ready to fly a tight planetary window. You can only launch every 18 months, or is it 2 years, something like that. So the next possible launch date for the Escapade mission, again on the New Glenn Blue Origin rocket, would be in the spring of 2025, so about 6 months from now. The agency did not disclose the details of that alternative trajectory, including when the spacecraft would reach Mars. A launch zone would be outside the traditional Mars launch window that is open this fall, but not again for roughly 2 years. So once again, it's one of those things where you got to be on it. You got to be on it if you want to launch to Mars. It's like an 18-month window every 2 years or something like that. So luckily, we got a little bit of time. And also, New Glenn, while I'm curious to see what happens, New Glenn is technically going to be a heavy launch vehicle. Technically will be a heavy launch vehicle. People are married live longer unless they don't. Well, looks like you boy can live a short life, guys. You live a short life. Maddie needs to invest in what we call a burial plot because Maddie gonna die. So anyway, what's SoFi looking like? No Hood. No, I'm too broke for Hood. I want to give a shout out to Amit though. Good call on Hood. I think in retrospect it was obvious. Even when it got to like $15, it was obvious. So one of my thoughts on China stocks, there's some of them that are dirt cheap. I have Baba in the portfolio. Actually, I'm kind of curious. I'm not sharing, right? Baba is 20,000. So Baba's up there. Like I said, it's one of the few stocks that I still have. So consider that if Starship creates a breakthrough on launch volumes and costs, and while Rocket Lab Space System Division could see a lot of demand also, Markets with Madison will interview back. Yes, very excited. For those of you guys that I still have to subscribe to her channel if I'm not already. I think I might have because she had an interview with SPB, Sir Peter Beck, I think after the Q2 earnings. And she'll have a part 1 and part 2 all about Neutron specifically. So at least that's what the title says. It says Sir Peter Beck Neutron part 1, part 2. So that'll be happening, I think, sometime this week or next. She'll be releasing at least one. So it'll be fun. The first New Glenn launch will not be Escapade test launch in November. I don't even know if New Glenn will be launched until Escapade, which should be. Okay, so now it's no longer with just Escapade. Got it. Don't invest in commies with respect to the Chinese. YouTube is giving you an ad every 5 minutes. Did I click something? That is crazy. I said at maximum every 12 minutes is what I said, at maximum. So the fact that it's every 5, I guess I've been on for 30 minutes. So you should not have seen 1. At max, you should have seen 3. At max. My China play is PGJ. Great China exposure with over 5% yield. What is that? That's a good point. I should invite Madison on Rocket Lab Weekly. What is PGJ? PGJ. Golden Dragon. Invesco Golden Dragon. Market cap index 67 holdings. Okay, it tells us what's in here too. Let me see. Share my screen. This is what it looks like over the past 5 years. I don't know. Is this leveraged or something? It's down like 70% since the 2021 peak. Okay. So it tracks market cap weighted index of JD.com. This is the top 10, which holds 60%. JD.com, Yum China. So I think Yum is like KFC and Taco Bell. Trip.com Group, Alibaba, Baidu, KE Holdings, and Neo. New Oriental Education and Technology Group, Tencent, ZTO. That is 60% of the fund. I'll say I'm interested in Baba, but not interested in a lot of those other ones. Let's see. Isn't it funny that Starship will reach out to orbit before New Glenn Blue Origin was founded before SpaceX? It's actually true. Yeah, hopefully. Let me know. You saw 3. Okay. Interesting. Have you looked into nuclear stocks? I haven't. I wouldn't necessarily be worried about the dividends. I would just say I'm ready for them. You know, ready for them, meaning like not because I'm like pushing them for today. I'm waiting for the day that Rocket Lab is mature enough where they're like, yeah, we've invested enough into our business that we think we're at a large enough scale now where we think buybacks and dividends are a good idea, because that means they're already at this point likely at 10x from where they are today, maybe 5x, 10x from where they are today. So they're like a 25 to $50 billion market cap. They've already established themselves and dominated themselves as a player in the market, which they already have. But for some reason, there's doubters out there. To me, I think that that's a good one. Okay, that's fine. Well, if it ends up being like a billion times, let me know. It shouldn't be more than every 12 minutes. And if you hit skip as well, it'll probably help. I think they're just trying something new. I don't know anything about Tempest II. I'm not smart enough. Okay. What I did want to go through, people were asking, Maddie Mula, aka Mateus Capital, Maddie Cap. We had a good debate about that in the chat earlier. I thought it was funny. What's the dealio? You know? Let me see if I can move this over here and myself over here, so I can actually kind of like look like I like you guys and I'm looking at the camera. So this is backstage. Maddie Mula, Seeking Alpha, earnings calendar. So you can see earlier in the month, we had like Nike, we had Payboys, Constellation Brands, Delta Airlines, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, BlackRock were on Friday. We had Pepsi last week. What's going on this week? Who do we got? So on Monday, tomorrow, we have Pearson, Carew, Cross First Bank Shares. Nobody that I really know or follow. United Health is, though. United Health is somebody that I I follow. Wow, Tuesday's a big day, guys. Let's filter by market cap. It already is. Okay, so J&J, Bank of America, Goldman, Citigroup, which for some reason Jim Cramer was kind of fired up. Schwab is one. I'm actually kind of curious about Schwab. I want to take a look at that. Let me put that in the background. Where's my Robinhood? Let me just open up another. I want to look at Schwab because I know when everything was going on in March of this year, Schwab was really taking a hit. So I want to take a look at that. PNC, Interactive Brokers, Woodside Energy, used to be a shareholder in that. United Airlines, Albertsons, Walgreens. What do you guys think about Walgreens? Any of you guys along? Wednesday, another very busy day. 33 companies. ASML, Abbott Labs, Morgan Stanley, Prologis, US Bancorp, CSX, Kinder Morgan, Crown Castle, Discover. What's the red dot mean? Oh, my stocks. These are stocks that I track. So I track Kinder Morgan, I track Discover. Equifax, PPG, which I think is paint, right? Citizens Financial Group. They have all three of my mortgages. Citizens. Alcoa. Holy crap, 47 companies on Thursday. TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor, Netflix. Wow, big day. Thursday might be one to watch out for, boys and gentlemen. Ladies and gents, Blackstone, Intuitive Surgical, Rio Tinto. Which Rio Tinto, how have these guys performed lately? Let me look in the back. Also, Schwab is still down from Jan 2022. Schwab's still down. Your boy might have to take a look at Schwab again. Let me see. Rio. How's Rio Tinto? I know I'm not sharing my screen for these stock charts. I'm just kind of curious. In the background, flat, which is the main reason I'm still waiting for the next leg to drop. Next foot to drop on commodities. I still think commodities are bearish in the medium term. Diageo, Travelers, WePro, M&T, KeyCorp. Interesting. 53 companies on Friday. Amex, BHP. BHP used to be a company I held. It's probably one of my best performing returns of all time. 300, almost 400% on some of the shares, I'm sure. Procter & Gamble, Schlumberger, Regions, Fifth Third. Interesting. What stocks are you guys seeing this week? What do we got next week? Generally, when one comes all. SAP, Nucor, WR Berkeley, equity shares, nothing there that I like. GE, Texas Instruments, Philip Morris, Verizon, Tesla next Wednesday. Oh, wow. Next Wednesday is when it starts to really heat up. 76 companies on Tuesday, 150 on Wednesday, 188 on Thursday next week. Tesla, Coca-Cola, T-Mobile. Wednesday is big. Wednesday is big next week. NextEra Energy, AT&T, ServiceNow. I'm spitting all over the place. I'm getting fired up, ladies and gentlemen. Thursday next week. Union Pacific, Honeywell, UPS. Some big ones. Equinor. We got some super majors starting to veil. We got some big ones. Then 178 companies. Okay, so next week will be a big week for me because I have Amazon, MasterCard, Shop. What about Google? We have good old Google. Google's on Tuesday, the 29th. Microsoft is on the 30th. Okay. So this upcoming week, we got a few. The showtime is the last 2 weeks of the month, which I feel like is typical, right? I feel like that's typical of of what we're used to seeing. The last 2 weeks of the first month of the quarter. Because you just had quarter close, you just had 3 to 4 weeks of getting everything prepped for earnings. So let's see, what is everybody thinking? Nuclear stocks, King Richard, what's going on? Let's see, TSM, that's right. Chad, trying to get everyone to sign up for YouTube Premium. I'm getting ads every single day. Damn. NNE is a tiny company. Bank of America earnings are going to be massive. IKBR has crazy growth as Interactive Brokers. Walgreens to zero. Walgreens to bankruptcy. Interesting. Breaking: U.S. sending troops to Israel. What do you guys think? Is that what are we seeing here? What do futures look like? Futures remain unchanged. Let's see if we have anything from CNBC. I'm kind of curious. CNBC talking about it at all? I don't have. Oh, but I do have YouTube TV. Maybe they have it on YouTube TV. Let's see. Live. I'm actually kind of curious what's going on. Because that seemed like a turn of events, no? What the absolute shit? Okay, well, I guess I don't have CNBC. I thought I did. I do have Bloomberg. Anyway, if it shows up on either of those two. Laura just got here. We'll have to watch the beginning later. Thanks for streaming. Absolutely. Joining late to sat through the intro. I like what you're trying to do. Way too long. Cool. Appreciate that feedback. That's really helpful. I agree. It is kind of too long. The thing that there's a few podcasts that I listen to, and it makes sense when you have a bunch of people that are like waiting around. So at least you know, like, hey, they didn't forget about us. They're at least starting. But they're also trying to set up like a table full of like 8 people. So it makes sense for them because they might be having trouble getting people to get to their seats. They're all like socializing and stuff like that. So, you know, they're just starting it up because they know, hey, T minus a couple minutes whenever you guys are seated, like we'll actually get started. So what do I think Rocket Lab's share price will be this time next year? If they successfully launch the Neutron rocket, I think it'll be about 15. Without successful Neutron launch, it'll be, I don't know, $10 still. We'll see. I'm very confident they'll have it launched by this time next year. Freeport, interesting. Copper is interesting. A lot of demand from electrification. True. And same thing with data centers in general, just AI and chips and stuff of the like. That'll really drive data centers. Data centers will drive, AI will drive data centers, which will drive semiconductors and storage. UEC, URNM. UEC, I had the CEO on the channel, I think, a long time ago, 2021. Let me see. It might have been Roy, Royalty Corp. Let me see. Is it YouTube Studio? Let's see. Yeah, your boy Matty Moolah. It's been around a while. Yeah, August 2021. Let me pull up these. Beard was much longer back then. There was that. There's another one like a month after that. See, I've had this. Maybe did I have the CEO? No, it's just me running through the earnings. They asked me to look through the earnings and see what I thought. I didn't like say buy or sell, but what about this one? I think this one was as well UEC or UROI. I forget which one. But yeah, they reached out to me and said, "Hey, can you give a quick look? What do you think?" And so I posted on the channel. Customers have been moving money out of Schwab low interest bank accounts and into accounts with higher interest. This has made it more expensive for Schwab to pay down its high cost debt. Interesting. Interesting. Well, I know for a fact that I'm doing that. I mean, as the Airbnb VRBO, if we get capital up front, we have for any money that we make, we put a couple months of mortgage payments into our checking, but anything more than that, we keep in Schwab because it's paying. I just checked this morning, 4.7% still, and the CDs right now just don't pay anything. So, long term on education stocks. Shout out to you, my guy. Need coffee? Got to hit the bros, my guy. Hit the bros, Big Billy. Plan on shorting Palantir into the print. I'm going to be honest with you guys. You guys know I have a very substantial Palantir position. We're not talking millions of dollars or anything like that, right? I mean, but what I can say, and I fully expect people to completely burn me if it continues to stay high, but I bought about $5,000 worth, actually a little bit more, $5,400 worth of $43 puts expiring November 22nd, 2024. I'm currently 6% down because we went from 43 to 44. And now we're kind of pulling back to 43 again. Whether or not we see a drop, whether or not, something happens. But generally speaking, I'm not looking for a lot, right? And I'm not looking for it to go into oblivion. What I am looking for is a little bit of a blow off. So let me pull up the stock. So currently, Palantir, and that was 15 contracts. So $5,400. It was like $400, $300 something dollars a contract. Let me do this. No, I don't like that. I guess that's as good as it gets. So does this help? That helps a little bit. Okay, so we are 43.17, so about 0.75% down overnight. But if you just look, generally speaking, my guys, and I'm not a scientist, and I'm not the best with English, and como se dice, up, down, sideways, no comprende, right? But what I can say is generally when stocks go up, they come back a little bit, and I'm not saying I'm a bear. I'm keeping my 4,300 shares, but what ends up happening when you have new highs, you come back a little bit. So what do we have? We have new highs. What is it you seeing? A little curl over, probably going to come back a little bit. So by no means am I selling my 4,500 shares, but I think it's just a good opportunity to get a little love. I got some covered calls that I'm still rolling out. I'm underwater on those. So technically, it's kind of like, all right, Matty Mullah's got 4,500 shares. He's in it for the long haul, but short term, Matty Mullah thinks it's going to come back a little bit. Will it? I don't know. And if it doesn't, you guys can burn me. You can be like, you just lost $5,000, my guy. And I'd be like, okay, cool. Like, you're right. I lost $5,000. But to me, 15 contracts, that's 1,500 shares short at $4,300. I think the break even's like 38 or $39. I forget what it was. No, it's less than that. Hold on. It was so 43 minus was like 360, I think. So it's like $39 is the break even. But what I'm not necessarily thinking it's going to hit $39. I'm mostly looking for short-term movements. So even if I have like a 5 or 10% down move within the short term, because it goes all the way to November 2022, November 22nd. So like 5 weeks from now, then the options contract is going to go wild. So that's kind of my hope is you have a little bit of a gap down at some point, or even just a little bit, but we're continuing to see go down. We're down 0.9% overnight, unfortunately. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. We will see. I also think Tesla is a short into the print. I would like to start picking up some Tesla at the $200 mark. Potentially, I might start selling some puts. Time to buy SQQQ. Maybe. NBC might be something. Yeah, maybe I can look at NBC. Does that have anything? Let me see. YouTube TV. Maybe NBC will have something. Let me see. NBC. The news, 10:30. The next thing we got was 10:30. So right now they're playing the Bengals. So unfortunately can't pull that up. Nothing on Twitter. Okay. We got Laura here, guys. That's all that matters. We got Julie here. We're a family today. We're a family. On Matt Money, we're family. ASTS looks like it's already ready to take off again. Amazing space stock. I think they're a little overextended, my guy. I think they need to come back a little bit. Yeah, I think they need to come back a little bit. Just because they don't have any revenue at the moment, you know? Do you have Rocket Lab or Palantir? I have Rocket Lab. I have about half my position of Rocket Lab in my Roth. The problem with building sizable positions is my Roth, you know, I don't put in enough or roll over enough into my Roth. So normally I just have a very big individual brokerage account. Another thing is I don't want to lock all my money in a Roth as well. So a lot of people are like, oh my God, but tax advantages. It's like, I get it. But what if I want to go buy a beach house? And you're like, oh, but you can pull money. It's like, you could pull out your contributions. It's like, great. You know, I could pull out $5,000 from Rocket Lab, but it's like, you know, you can't buy an island. You know, maybe you could if you could buy the whole island in cash using your IRA. But then the thing is with buying real estate in your IRA, buying real estate with your IRA, you have to pay for the future expenses out of your IRA. Do you know that? So even if you were you could always liquidate it, right? You could always liquidate your IRA, pay the taxes, etc. But yeah, there are people that have done real estate in their IRA, but is that really smart? You have to, you know, you pretty much have to buy it cash. Is buying real estate cash a good idea? I don't know. U.S. has approved the deployment of military personnel and a THAAD anti-missile battery to Israel as the region remains on high alert for possible retaliatory strikes against Iran. You know what would really tell this story? It's oil. What's oil doing? Oil's not doing anything. Oil's not doing anything, guys. Still at $74. Interesting. We had to sit calmly to watch this show. What does that mean? Also, Walgreens doesn't have a bright future. A lot of stores are dead and not taken care of. I concur. I've actually started to see a lot of them shut down. Believe it or not. The United States is a glorified security company for Israel. Interesting thought. We have thoughts that Rocket Lab will be above $20 a year from now. I hope so. That'd be great. That would be great. All right, let's see if we can skip ahead here. If there's any thoughts. Matt holds more Palantir than Karp himself before Karp took profits. I wish that was the case. I probably wouldn't be talking to you guys if that was the case. I mean, I would come back. You know, I would come back. But right now, I'd be celebrating on an island somewhere. Yes, I've been saying that for about a week, and I'm curious to see if that changes. Everyone says I'm crazy. I've been saying October 31st for some time, and like they haven't announced it yet. And I'm like, I'm just listening to what Robinhood says, man. Robinhood says October 31st. Do you like any UK stocks? I do own UK stocks, but I can't disclose what stocks they are. Well, technically I could, but separation of church and state, my guys. I'm sure you can put it together. It's not hard. Can't bring yourself to make options bet on Palantir. I get that. Let's let in the 5,300 shares ride. I'm with you, man. Stock pimping. Twan, what's going on? The SCHD is doing a split. Como did you say waterbed? What? There you go. There you go. Let's see. The first month ever running covered call, cash secured put strategy made 3K. Didn't get called away and was very impressed with the returns. Feels like I first found out about dividend stocks. That's awesome, man. I would just be cautious. Don't remain disciplined. That's all I can say. Discipline is key in that game, and just find out what deltas are right for you. Some people like to sell at like the 0.2 deltas, and that's just not for me, man. It depends, right? Like if it's a company I want to buy and I'm just like not there, like Rocket Lab, for example, I'm just not willing to buy it right now. Because I already have enough shares, and I'm going to kick myself for saying that because I always say this, but I kind of set myself with a financial limit. Now, if I go to if my net worth goes to 20% more than it is right now, I'd probably be willing to raise that to $125,000, $150,000 in an actual capital I'm willing to invest. So, I'm not saying never's never, but for right now, I just can't see myself adding more. But the cover call strategy is interesting, man. You gotta be cautious with it because something like a Palantir, I could potentially lose my Palantir and lose like 40 grand in opportunity cost. And it's not to say I wouldn't buy back a lot of those shares, but I could get my shares called away, because they're underwater right now by a pretty good amount. Like 33, 34 bucks is what my calls are at, and I'm slowly just trying to roll it out over time. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening, but you just got to be cautious. Looking to ASICs for AI because they're able to outperform GPUs, stuff like that for crypto mining. They believe they could do it for as well. Next is moving up and nice and steady too. Do you think it has anything to do with the odds? Trump versus Kamala since LNG approvals. I just think it has a lot to do with Texas government in general. But I don't necessarily think that it has anything to do with the general election. I think that might have a little bit. But I think it's mostly just based off of the rhetoric that's going on in the state. So no, Ted Cruz has been like adamant about making sure that those continue to go forward. And so can you borrow against it? I don't know if you could borrow against an IRA. It's a good question because you can't access it before you're 59 and a half, right? Matt, looking to HELOCs. So we just bought this in May. We only put down 20%, so I can't do that. This house that I'm living in, I'm at 15%. So like an 85% loan to value ratio. So I'm still far away on that. The only one that we would be able to do potentially any pulls from is the house I bought in December 2022. So that's appreciated by about 25%, which shout out for us because we put down 10%. But anyway, so that has a loan to value ratio of about 70% right now. So I'm going to get the portfolio to a place where we're, at least for the rentals, always above an 80% or lower than an 80% loan to value ratio, meaning that I have 20% plus equity in all the properties. And the reason being is because I just always want to have that flexibility. So my hope is long term, when I have a bigger portfolio, is to have like a 65% loan to value ratio. And the reason being is because that means you have a lot of equity in a lot of things. So if you want to move and make some big moves, so say you have like a $100,000 portfolio, sorry, 100 million, sorry, not 100 million, $1 million portfolio, and your loan to value is 65%. That means I have $350,000 in equity. I could probably borrow up to 80%. So that would allow me to borrow about 150,000. So that's kind of my hope, is like I'm able to keep at that. So now that we have 2 or 3 properties, if we're able to do that, the real goal would eventually to be get a portfolio loan on it. So you have enough real estate where they kind of know the whole portfolio and you just have to pay one mortgage, which would be nice. But the problem with my portfolio is that at the moment it's split up between different equity interests. So it's like I have my house, which is 100%. the other house with my sister, which is half, another house with another person, which is a half. So it's like, each of them is kind of tough in that respect. So I'd either have to figure out a simplification to continue to grow that, where like we can convince each other that the sum of the parts is greater than, or sorry, the whole is greater than some of the parts, because like the flexibility that would add. So even though as a portfolio they own, let's just say X amount and I own X amount, as a whole portfolio, it makes more money playing them all together, and it'll be more stable. So it's like some years, some things might be less stable versus others. Like, for example, we're putting a lot of work into the house we bought in May. We're redoing the HVAC system. We're going to do some updates on the doors. We're going to do some painting, some minor things here and there. We're also adding a king size bed into the pool house. So things like that, where it helps increase revenue, but it's going to impact short term. So we might have to come out of pocket, like depending on if we get a lot of bookings off platform, meaning like people pay us time off platform. Because unfortunately with Airbnb and VRBO, the thing that's nice about them and part of their business model is they're actually able to get, let's just say they have a $10,000 booking, they take like half of that up front. So they're sitting on $5,000 cash. They're not giving it to the hosts. So I only get that money after the guest checks in and says like, yep, place is good. Like, we're not leaving. So once they say, yeah, we're staying, then they release our funds to us. But that's part of the benefit for a Airbnb or VRBO, because they're just sitting on that $5,000 to $10,000 cash for months, quarters even. And the amount of interest they've been able to make in 2022, 2023, 2024 is pretty insane. So that's part of the reason why the business model has been doing so well the past few quarters. So anyway, just some thoughts on that piece. Still max out the Roth. Yeah, I do. I have to do a backdoor, so I have to do a traditional and then traditional to Roth because of income limits. But if you don't have to worry about that, then ignore anything I just said. Working outside tonight, but listening. Always got up for a good stream. Adrox, man, always great to see you, brother. Longtime supporter of the channel. Need a chat, man. Need to. I think you still have my number, so hit me up. Walgreens is too much thief, in your opinion. I'd stay away. Agreed, man. It's gonna be tough. Same thing with like dollar store and stuff of the like. What is this? Anti-disestablishmentarianism is a separation of church and state. Big movement in the 18th and 19th century of the UK and USA. Lesson of the day. I tried my best to say it. I tried it first time. What is the best way to learn options trading? Paper trade, to be honest. You have to recognize, so it's like learning stocks all over again, right? Because they're called derivatives for a reason, right? They're derived off, the value of the options are derived off of the underlying value of whatever you're buying. So that's why people call them derivatives. So you got to recognize when you buy stocks, it's pretty easy. Stock goes up, stock goes down, sideways. You could buy long, you could buy short, borrow short rather. And so it's pretty easy, right? You either want it to go up, you want it to go down. That's stocks. But there's a part where, like, for example, you can write some crazy trades where it's good, like Palantir, for example. You could write a trade where it makes money if the stock stays in, for let's just say November 20th, 22nd, because that's what I currently have. You can say that it makes money if it goes to $35, but anything below $35, you actually start to lose money. And then same thing on the upside. You could say at $45 and above, at 43 to $45, it makes money, but anything north of 45, it loses money. So you could do like multi-leg sort of options. It's just much more difficult than like up, down, sideways. And when people think of calls, they think it's long. When the people think of puts, they think it's short. But that's not always the case, right? There's buying and selling. So you could either be the person that is buying the contract from somebody or selling the contract to somebody. It just depends. And depending on what you do, it completely reverses the trade. So like the simple way to think about it is when you're buying a call, when you're buying a put. So when you go to call somebody, you pick up the phone. When you put the phone down, you're putting it down, right? So put down, call up. So that's just in the one case, but in the opposite, if you're a seller, you want the opposite. So you're the one selling the option. You're giving somebody the opportunity to take those shares away from you in the terms of a call. You want the exact opposite. You're the one that's selling that call to somebody. So you're saying, hey, you want it to go up. I think it's going to go down. Let's meet an agreement. And the opposite with the put, right? You're selling a put. You either want to pick up shares for lower price or you want the stock to stay up so you can generate income. Options are just a lot more variable because it could be used for insurance. It could be used for income. It could be used for hedging. It could be used for leverage. It can be used for a bunch of different things. It could be used for being delta neutral on a trade. There's a lot of different reasons why you would use options. In fact, I think I wrote a paper, like a very short paper on it. I should look and see if I can find that. Let me see, actually. Docs. Options. Untitled. No. Really? Why can't I go to my other accounts? Anyway, I'll have to look for it. I could have sworn that I wrote something. Oh, you know what that is? I think it's on my old laptop. I need to somehow figure out a way. Yeah, I'll find out a way. Now that I have my monitors and stuff set up, I could maybe use the other monitors. Okay, cool. 400 shares called away. Exactly. Yeah, sometimes covered calls might not be the way. Buy your next run on an NLC, one for each, then HELOC on each one. Simple interest, so like a line of credit. Agreed. Love to pick your brain on real estate soon. Anytime. Feel free to message me. But no, I'm also thinking about doing that as well. Like, I'm thinking about because I have margin on my accounts. So right now, actually, one of the things that I do is what I'll do exactly what you're saying, right? Because it's simple interest versus amortized. I'll take $5,000 against myself on my portfolio. It's not like a line of credit. It's not like a share-based line of credit, which is different, which is like a set amount. It's just using margin. And I'll pay the mortgage kind of slightly early. So like $5,000 chunks. And then instead of paying extra to the mortgage like I was paying about $3,000 a month. The mortgage payment, property taxes, insurance, everything was like $2,400, $2,500. So instead of paying the extra $600 a month to that, I'm paying it back to myself to go into. And so after 4 or 5 months, I'll break back down to, being even, and then I'll use it again. And it's sped up my mortgage payment. Like it's almost exponential. Like it's insane because if you think about it, paying $5,000 in principal will save you 7% on that number going into the future. And I'm only paying simple interest on the money that I borrow. So it's just such an easy way to look at it. So I'm going to supercharge that. I'll probably stop doing that because right now what I'm trying to do is get this house down to 20%. Get it up to 20% equity so that when I do refinance, I might do maybe closer to 25% or 75% loan to value, because if I can get the mortgage payment down an extra $100, it just gives me a little bit more. Because when I refinance, I'll be able to get like a couple $100 a month in rent for this in terms of like the window above. So it'd just be nice to get a little bit higher than that. But I mean, if I'm here another year, maybe 2 years, I don't know. I'd like to buy another house. I love this house, but it's not perfect. It's a rental house, right? I bought it for rental. I bought it for students. I bought it for, a small family that's just getting started. I bought it for that, right? I'm doing well enough where I shouldn't live in a house where my annual income is about the same, right? So, um, you know what I mean? Like some people like you should buy a house that's like 3 to 4 times your salary. It's like I'm sitting here in a house that's like a little bit more than 1 times my salary. So it's like doesn't make doesn't make a lot of sense, right? You got to think about it in that respect. But yes, we do want to put some under an LLC because we want to start getting business credit as well. Plan on selling your real estate portfolio, purchase Bitcoin when the crypto market cycle bottoms again. Real estate is getting attacked by all industries and the government. Interesting. Next jumped about 12% last week because Trump was looking like a likely winner. Couldn't find any news for the pump. We discussed a little bit earlier. I think it's a lot just internal Texas discussions. I think it's getting the eyes of a lot of Texas senators. Learning got real when the money got real. Keep bets on real money on small bets. Real money teaches a fast lesson, good and bad. Either way, you don't forget the lesson. I don't disagree with that. As long as it's money you can afford to lose, They should honestly create a board game that is centered around the stock market. They have actually a really good game that's centered around the stock market. It's called Stock Market. And you put money in, you make money. You make bad investments, you lose money. Pretty interesting game. I like to play it. Some say that I play it. What made you take out the 401k loan and invest in rental property? Think about doing the same thing because I didn't want to sell Palantir. I didn't want to sell Raglab. I didn't want to sell anything else. And so it was one of two ways. I could have sold my SPY because I was okay selling SPY. I could have taken a bridge loan, so gone to a different lender, asked for a bridge loan of say 30, 40,000. I didn't feel comfortable doing that. Or I could borrow against my 401k. And I had some cash, so I didn't totally borrow all the money. But it was just like, to me, I was just like, well, it's like I want to make sure we put down 20%. Most of the time they make you, if you're doing rental property. You don't have to, by the way, because we got screwed on the appraisal. So we ended up only being able to put down 19% instead of 20. So you can put down less than 20, just so you're aware. But they give you crap about it, of course, because it's rental property and it's not primary. And so they're taking on additional risk, but they gave us crap. But I was just like, do you want the deal to go through or not? And they said, yes. I said, okay, then make it happen. You don't mess with Manny Mullah. So, to me, it was just like I could pay more interest to myself, and it comes directly out of your paycheck, which makes it simple. Or I could find out another way. And I was just like, you know what? I was like, I don't want to sell Palantir, don't want to sell SPY, don't want to sell, and to ended up being a good idea because I think on the first one I got one way back in the day. It was like 6%. That was when I bought the house in 2022. I paid that off already, like last year. Before I bought this house, in fact. And then I used money, 20 grand out of my 401k to buy this house. And I had to put down like close to 45 or 50 grand, I think, because I put down a little bit more than 10% on this house. And so, that was okay. That was like 8 or something percent. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I have a feeling it's going to be a good year. I don't know why I feel a little hot. So I'm just going to turn the air down a couple degrees. I was like, I feel like it's going to be a good year. I feel like Palantir is going to do well. I don't want to sell these things. Let me sell or like loan against my 401k instead. And that was a good idea because my whole portfolio is up like 30 something percent in the last year, 40% even in certain aspects. I'm averaging in the 401k with it. So like individual brokerage accounts up like 40-50%, Roth IRAs up like 40-50%, the 401ks up like the market, so like 27 or something percent. So it's like probably a smart move, right? To have borrowed against that rather than borrow against Palantir or Rocket Lab, something like that. So yeah. But you just have to do what's right for you, right? It's not just because I did it doesn't necessarily mean it's right for you. If you have cash, maybe it's better to use the cash rather than the 401k loan. But to me, I think the 401k loan is great because you're paying interest, but you're paying yourself the interest. So it's like, is it really that big of a deal? Yes, it kind of sucks because you have to borrow money and then pay yourself more money, but it's not like you're paying a bank. MSTR, I think, will have a very bullish first half of 2025. Early 60s, cool. That would be cool to see. That's awesome. You can actually do the HELOC too, though, because it's working the same way to bring your points. Yeah, exactly. And the money can flow in and out versus a monthly payment. Yeah, I do eventually, whenever I do get this down, I do want to try to get something and hopefully lock in like a 5 or 6%, because it's slightly better than the margin. The margin I have right now is like 7.5%, but that's about what I pay for the current mortgage on the house. The current mortgage is 7.3 something. So, so I'm basically paying the difference between an amortized loan versus simple interest loan. And it's really helping, to be honest with you. And the equity build has just been insane comparatively, right? Because not only are you paying the $5,000 up front, and then you're only paying simple interest in the one account, and then you're paying it off monthly, which is what I've been doing, or biweekly rather, because I got paid twice a month. But then now your payments, like originally when I first bought the house, I was like contributing about $300 of my payment was going to principal every month, and now I'm up to like $450. So it's like just in that short amount of time, just by climbing up the amortization table, you're being able to save a lot more over time, which is the true benefit in the long term, right? Because to me, this is going to be a house that I hold, right? I'm never going to sell this house unless I need to. I don't have an emotional attachment to this house other than it's the first house that I've ever lived in. Technically, it's the second house I bought. So, because I bought the other house in 2022. So it's like I have no emotional attachment other than it's the first house that I've lived in per se, and it's the first house that's mine. But there's a few things that I want to do to it, but otherwise, it's relatively a decent house. Not sure you're growing on that amount versus a HELOC. Yes, yeah. I mean, you are taking it out. So technically, if it's like $300,000 and you borrow $50,000, it's only the $250,000 going, not 300. So it does stall the right word. It does stall some of your growth for sure. 2025 and 2027 Rocket Lab leaps. Oh, sorry. Your pick for 2025 is January 27 Rocket Lab leaps. I looked at it, man. To me, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to buy the shares, but I get it. I get it. There's a little bit of leverage aspect to it. You could buy it almost like 2-1. So it's like, I get it. But for me, I think I would just buy the shares, We had a local company made the stock market game based on the town I grew up in called Sheffield. Cheers. That's pretty cool. Don't you pay interest on the 401k? No capital gains for the down payment up to $50K. Yep. You do. Yeah, you don't pay interest. That's right. You pay interest to yourself. So you do technically still pay interest. EG bought 5 shares at $6, immediately sold at $8 calls for 2 months out. 2,500 shares popped to 950 plus. I get called next week, so I made $12K, but missed the extra $12K I had held. You can always try to roll it, my man. Well, yeah, because I guess, yeah, you could always try to roll it. So let's see. It's a good time to buy oil stocks. Some people say yes. I personally think that if everything in the Middle East gets solved, then I think that we're going to see another leg down in oil prices. And my thoughts would be I would rather wait personally. I also already have shares in oil that I can't sell until next year. So based off of that, my situation, I'm going to wait because I already have a lot of shares that I'm sitting on that I can't touch until next year. But I would be loading up. If oil was in the 40s, 50s, I would be loading up. So it's very cyclical. Oil is very cyclical. I just feel like it's been time. The last time we had a dip was 4 years ago. And so I feel like it's coming to be able to potentially buy, but it's just too early in my opinion. And to me, real money's made when oil is really in the shitter, when everyone's just like oil's going to zero and companies are declaring bankruptcy. And you literally need to read the balance sheets and look like which ones are going to be able to stay alive, which ones aren't. But that's just me. Yes, changing everything you can to simple interest is an absolute game changer. Agreed 100%. What are your thoughts on condos? The real estate was looking one in downtown Sacramento Kings. I think there's positive and negatives. I would look at some of the horror stories, what people have to go through right now with condos in Florida, not necessarily because of the hurricanes, but just because of HOA fees. And sometimes those HOA fees don't actually go towards what you think they are. And next thing you know, but they can be. I mean, if you buy in a decent place that doesn't have a lot of, stuff, just be cautious is all I'm saying. And it's not to say the same thing can't happen with single family homes too. So rent is lower than mortgages. I don't know how cash flow works out on real estate investments. Exactly. You got to put either more down. And that's kind of the hope that I'm getting is like, you're really only squeaking by. But my hope is that you're able to pay down the mortgage, get the mortgage payment down. And, okay. So anyway, sorry, somebody was messaging me about Airbnb stuff. Any tips on finding undervalued stocks? Good question. Yes, get your walk in, Julie. Good to hear from you and see you. Enjoy the walk. What about oil drillers? I just think there's another leg to drop, man. In terms of how to find cheap stocks, it really is dependent. I think the first thing that you need to recognize is what are the key performance indicators and valuation metrics for each individual industry. So some people might look at a realty income with a price to earnings of like 44. They're like, oh my God, like that's so high. I'll never invest in realty income. But they neglect to note that the real metric to measure real estate investment trusts is price to funds from operation or price to adjusted funds from operation. So they might be using the wrong metric. You could also say the same thing about really capital intensive businesses. So when you have a very capital intensive business, oil and gas is a good example of this. You can write off a lot of depreciation, depletion costs. And so think of a lot of industrial companies that have a lot of CapEx to keep up with factories and things of the like, or mining companies even. So their net income might actually show up as really low, but the profitability of the business is huge. And that net income is actually suppressed by the fact that they get a lot of tax write-offs because of depletion, depreciation, and amortization. And so because of that, you want to almost look at multiple metrics over time. How's the EBITDA looking? EBITDA can be scary though, because that's before taxes, depreciation, amortization, and interest as well. And so it might paint a wrong picture. So you have to look at multiple things. What I would just look at is the cash flow statement. The cash flow statement shows the actual real cash value. Don't look at the net income so much. Net income might help. It helps with EPS. You got to see, on paper, is the EPS going up comparatively, in terms of historically, how's the stock trade? It trades at a 20x multiple. Now it's trading at 12x multiple. Most likely it's going to go up. So keep that in mind with respect to that. But what was I going to say? Sorry, I keep getting text messages. If you look at the cash flow statement, cash flow is legit, cash in, cash out. So what you can see is how much money was it making net income, add back in depreciation, depletion costs, what is the actual value that you're getting, and then how much of it was financed, whether you're paying off debt more or you're taking in debt to be able to kind of grow your cash balance. And that's probably the most important thing. But I would just compare companies against each other in specific industries. Don't compare a super major oil company versus Google, because it's going to look completely different. But I would just look at all three statements. I would look at cash flow statement, net income statement, and then balance sheet, and just kind of understand what way is it trending comparatively to what it has been in the past, and etc. So just some food for thought there. But I think that that's probably the biggest thing that I would recommend for anybody, is to learn and struggle your way through learning how to read those things, because, and some of them are difficult. Like, you could try to read a bank one, and a bank one is very complex because they're issuing debt, they're taking on debt, they're intentionally taking on debt, right? So it's a very interesting machine, but that debt might not necessarily be theirs, but they keep it on their books. So it's a headache, right? So some of these things are not very easy to read. But my hope is that if you have a little bit of a control of it, you could at least read through and sort through some of the bullshit. And that's how I was able to do it with Palantir. Like, Palantir, everybody was like, is this company going to go bankrupt? And I'm like, this is back in 2021, 2022. And I'm like, this company makes money. Cash in, cash out. This company is making money. And people are like, but GAAP income says negative. And so it's like, well, are you actually reading things, are you just quoting what you're seeing on CNN, or CNBC? And then a lot of people were just quoting what they saw on CNBC, and they say, Palantir to zero, it's not making any money, blah, 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 blah. And really what it was, and this is another piece that is important, but a lot of it was the share-based compensation of being a couple $100 million. So if you think about it, the company was pulling in cash income of a couple $100 million, and then they were distributing share-based compensation. You have actual physical cash coming into the company, but you're sending paper out. So in terms of like the long-term value of the company, yes, not beneficial. But in terms of short-term, is the company going to be able to stay afloat, etc.? Yes. And it had no inkling of going into bankruptcy, even during the time it was directly listed. And people were just sitting there thinking that, it was a BS sort of company. And so there's a lot of companies out there, like SoFi, for example, that's been something comparable where it's been profitable the last few quarters. Dutch Bros is like that. A lot of people, it's not necessarily, EPS negative, but a lot of people are like, well, CapEx is outweighing the current EBITDA for the company, so they're obviously going to go bankrupt, or it's going to be a debt machine. It's like, well, you can say that, but if you have a little bit of trust and you see what way the EBITDA is growing, and you have a feeling that they're going to stay at this like $200 to $250 million capex range, it's like within a year or two, that's going to hit some sort of intersection, and capex, you can keep investing in the business while you have excess cash flow to pay down debts and etc. And so it just takes a little bit of understanding of the trajectories and the confidence, and sometimes that's why stocks will drop 20%, because somebody will be like, for example, I have a very strong feeling Palantir will do this. If it doesn't drop beforehand into the 30s, the mid 30s, it'll probably do so after the earnings report. I think a lot of people think it's going to be growing at 30% year over year, and it very well may. But if it doesn't, if it's still in the 20% range, I think you're going to see the stock drop like a rock, because it just won't justify the current $42, $43 earnings per share. So hopefully that helps a little bit with respect to what my thoughts are. But there's a million different ways to read. There's no one size fits all way to be able to read. It really just depends on what you're interested in and how you kind of look at investments. I too, what's going on, my guy? Much appreciated. You're a myth and legend. For any of you guys that don't follow this guy, he's a proud investor and shepherd for individual investors like myself, and he puts on a good show every Friday night. So I would love to see people go on over to his channel. If you could do me the favor, I'll put his link in the description. And man is a veteran as well, and so please go and support this guy. Every Friday night he does a phenomenal show, and I've been watching him for several years. Yes, please like the stream, much appreciated. Do you have a Patreon account with Chris under Cashflow Chronicles? No, I do not have a Patreon account with Chris, but I do have a Patreon. I don't really ask people to do it, but if people have asked in the past, can I donate in any sort of way, shape, or form? You can do that 2 ways. You can do that becoming a member of the channel, or you could do that by I've opened up Patreon members, so I haven't actually had anybody that I know of as of yet sign up. Like I said, don't feel obligated. Oh shit, I do have one member. Thank you to, I don't know who it is that joined the big money gang, but I gotta find out. That's phenomenal. That's the first time. All right, so I do have one person that is a Patreon member. So much appreciated, and shout out to that guy. I gotta find out who it is. So yes, you guys rock. Appreciate you. I got somebody blowing me up about stuff, and we're gonna try to have a contractor run through some of the properties this weekend. It looks like there's a hiccup with what's going on. So much appreciated as always. Please do me one last favor. And one, I know I asked you guys to follow Hot Ryan. Please go ahead and do that. And then 2, if you guys don't mind joining the Twitch, at least if you have a Twitch, please go ahead and do that. I want to make sure that we try to get that off the ground as well. Let's just take one last quick look at futures and see if there's anything going on. I know that somebody said that we were potentially seeing some folks get shipped over to Israel. Futures look like they're currently still rather flat, although we're 0.25% down on NASDAQ. And then let's just do a quick roundabout on some of the stocks. So we're still hanging out at 0.75 down. Palantir, let's look at SPY. SPY itself is down 0.13. Let's look at the Qs. Qs are down to 0.25%, just like futures. That makes sense. What else is there? I don't know if Rocket Lab trades until pre-market. Yeah, I don't think Rocket Lab's trading. What else is up there? Oh, Tesla is probably a good one. I know a lot of folks are interested in this one. Up a little bit. It's back up to 220. This one, man, I don't know. I might sell some puts on this guy. How much money could I take in? I wouldn't mind getting a little bit of exposure, right? I wouldn't mind getting a $200 put in here for 20 grand. Let's see. So you got the January. Collect $1,300, $1,400. So I mean, that would make your shares, it'd be coming out of pocket, kind of like $1,800. Sorry, 18,000, 19,000 bucks. But what is that? 1,380 divided by 20, 7%. Sorry, I'm doing math. You can't see the calculator. I'll think about it. I'm not the biggest fan of Tesla for now, but that's the thing is like, at what point do you buy? These robots are real, right? And even if it's in 2030, 2040, you put some money in there, man. By 2035, it's going to be a lot of money. It's going to be a lot of money. So, I don't know. Appreciate you guys, June. Adam, what's going on, my guy? Enjoy listening to the streams. I appreciate you. Brent, thank you for everything that you do for the channel and the support. You're awesome. What do I think about Amazon this week? I think Amazon, I don't know. I don't really look at it week to week, quarter to quarter, but I think it's still going to be up there. And I'm a big fan. Laura G, thank you. Glad to see you. Some bad news for Amazon. People are canceling Prime accounts. I guess we'll see this week, or maybe it's next week. I think they're showing up. They're doing their earnings next week, I think. Austin, much appreciated, my guy. Much appreciated. Twan, you're the man. Appreciate everybody stopping by. Let me know if there's any preferred day before you send me a link. Okay, thank you. Oh, with respect to the, is that with respect to the troops going? What is it? Oh, Amazon. We could talk about that. Oh, Jesus. Interesting. Looks like there's some anti-Semitic stuff that's going on in Amazon potentially, which is causing people to close their accounts at alarming rates. Very interesting. You never know what the hell goes on these days. It's a wild, wild, wild world. But anyway, much appreciated, you guys. Let me know if there's message me and DM me on X or anything like that. If there's a preferred day you need me to go public with Mr. Patel on Cashflow Chronicles. We try to do Tuesdays and Thursdays, but sometimes we have to switch Monday or Wednesday or what have you. All right, cool. Sorry, it's only an hour and a half. I'm like Mr. Kukreja, who does like 3 hours just for the morning open. So you guys rock. Talk to you guys soon. Thank you. Cheers.